At the edge of the Des Plaines River, 9 miles from Chicago's center, we find a unique example of the 19th century's most talented landscape architects, engineers, and architects working together to create a new kind of community, one in which nature would become an integral and essential part of everyday living for all its residents. The result was Riverside, where families would dwell together amid a setting of wooded groves and meadows along a curving stream. In 1869, the landscape architectural firm of Frederick Law Olmsted and his partner Calvert Vaux prepared the General Plan of Riverside. They created one of the earliest totally planned suburban communities, a rural, self-contained community providing all the civilizing advantages found in the city at that time within a rural, country-like atmosphere. These civilizing advantages included such amenities as easy access from Chicago. The train had already been extended here, and Olmsted proposed a divided approach road to link to the city. Riverside had the best engineered streets of the time, with cobblestone gutters for proper drainage, sewers, water lines, gas lines, and gassed street lamps. To provide the rural, country-like setting, vast amounts of public lands were set aside, almost half of the entire village. There are 2 large commons, Scotswood and Long Common, an extensive riverbank area, triangular islands dispersed throughout the village, and varying public right-of-ways. All the best land was for the public use for all time. The depressed curvilinear roadway system broke away from the typical grid street plan. There were large residential lots, and residents were encouraged to plant 2 trees in their front yard, as nature and the landscape was always to be of the utmost importance throughout the village. By 1871, Riverside had a water tower, a commercial building, the Union Church, a new train depot, and a 125-room hotel. Over 50 homes had been completed. The Great Chicago Fire and the subsequent financial panic in 1873 left the Riverside Improvement Company bankrupt. But fortunately for us, Olmsted's plan was basically complete, becoming in time the outstanding example of suburban town planning that it is today. In 1970, Riverside was designated a National Historic Landmark for its contribution to the history and the development of the United States. Over the years, the village has attracted works of outstanding architects, and many of these structures remain today. In 1991, the village adopted a preservation ordinance to protect Riverside's plan with its public lands. Within this ordinance, significant historical structures may be designated as local landmarks. Today, there are over 50. In this series, we will look at 4 of the landmark homes. These owners have graciously agreed to let us explore their property from the outside and the inside. So now, let's begin our tour. Only a few houses designed by famous architect William LeBaron Jenney survive today, but the one that reflects his philosophy more than any other is the house he designed in 1869 for his partner, L.Y. Schermerhorn, which sits upon a slight hill and looks out over the Scotswood Common. It remains substantially unaltered. The only important exterior changes have been the addition of a side porch near the kitchen entry and the enlargement of the front porch wrapping around the building to the large side yard. Pointed arch windows reach to the sky and show the Gothic influence of the Swiss cottage style. The entry is marked by these windows, as well as the square window set diagonally in the front gable, the window dormers flanking it, and the beautifully detailed gabled entry porch above the steps. There is a tremendous variety of wooden tracery, brackets, and detail work at all the home's windows. The second floor hooded windows are very detailed with the original scroll work. At the front, the windows have deeply projecting roofs. There are exposed, projected decorative rafters at the gabled overhangs, mixing with the detailed wooden tracery. The second-story pedimented windows at the sides are carried out in the Carpenter Gothic form. The wraparound porch is so elegant, with its elaborately detailed brackets, the wooden post with their chamfered edges, the open roof rafters, and the intricate balusters and railings. At the east side of the house, a simple rounded bay projects from the facade. In 1993, the owners of the home, the Navarros, undertook a major restoration of the porch, rebuilding each essential part as necessary, true to its original and exact detail. Most of Jenny's fame came from his development of the skyscraper design in Chicago. He was known as the father of the skyscraper. However, his early works in Chicago were also in the West Park systems. He created meandering paths and picturesque bridges. Jenny was committed to combining nature and building in his architecture, as demonstrated here. At the same time, he collaborated with Riverside planners Olmsted and Vox in the development of the village. The firm of Jenny, Schermerhorn, and Bogart was retained as the architects and engineers to oversee the day-to-day construction of the village. More than anyone else, Jenny had overall control and influence on the Village of Riverside's early architecture. The board and batten siding is so beautifully maintained and displayed in this building. Even the basement window wells are unique. The Schermerhorn Cottage contributes to the strong, late 19th century Victorian architecture represented by the houses on Scotswood Road. They all front onto the Scotswood Common, tying together building and landscape. The massing of the house is very picturesque and romantic, reminiscent of A.J. Downing's cottage styles of the period, and reflects William LeBaron Jenney's architectural style and philosophy for the village. Jenney loved Riverside and even built his own home here. The front entry doors lead us into a central hall. The elegant staircase is just beyond. If we turn around, we can see the detailed tile work on the floor and experience how the entry foyer opens up onto the expansive front yard and then onto the beautiful public lands. In this home, you are surrounded by nature. You are in it. Once again, so much of the original works remain even on the inside of the home, including the hardwood floors, the woodwork, even the hardware. The trim and the moldings are constructed of walnut and butternut and are beautifully maintained. The home has 5 fireplaces. The original fireplace in the living room is of elegantly carved marble and has the original tile hearth at the floor. Even the tile has an organic design. All the large ground floor rooms interconnect, with the tall, oversized windows letting light pour in throughout the house. In the dining room, there is elaborate hardwood trim at the ceiling. All the while, that unique and beautiful staircase remains the central core of the home. In 1869, Jenny authored a book entitled Principles and Practice of Architecture. In it, he writes, "Imagine oneself going through the daily habits of life, the man coming from his business, going to dinner, then to the library where he may spend his evenings and receive his friends. The woman superintending the cleaning of the rooms, receiving her callers, looking after the children. Nor must the servants be neglected. See that the kitchen is as large as required, the closets conveniently arranged, that the cellar and the rear chamber stairs are in their desired place." In this home, the rear stairs Jenny speaks of go from an intermediate landing down to the kitchen. Here, we even have the 19th century version of an intercom. Also at the stair landing, we find colored light pouring into the staircase through the beautiful stained glass window. At the second floor, there are two coal-burning fireplaces. The master bedroom fireplace has a tile hearth, slate surround, and decorative cast iron insert. We can look out through those same pointed arched windows we saw from the outside and get a beautiful view. The Navarros used the front three rooms as a master bedroom suite, and still there are 3 other bedrooms for the family on the second floor. All these front spaces interconnect, and once again, much of the original details remain. Period light fixtures are here. They fit in beautifully with the ornate hardwood trim and window brackets. The moldings at the ceilings of these rooms follow the pitched lines of the roof, in keeping with the architecture of the house. The intricately carved hardwood brackets at the interior spaces truly are a reflection of the intricate scrollwork at the exterior of the same windows. The Schermerhorn Cottage is an outstanding example of famed architect William LeBaron Jenney's Riverside work and is today one of the most picturesque homes in the village.